next episode of The Female Fist. I am super excited to have a really close friend of mine and an amazing athlete. She's the two-time provincial champion Golden Glove champion, Canadian version provincials, so at 60 kilograms. Please welcome Allie Rosen. How are you doing, Allie?
Hey, I'm so happy to see you virtually.
So happy to see you, honestly. I know this whole thing. Well, actually, so our audience knows, she is an athlete under Boxing Ontario, but she's currently in Miami, Florida. Yeah. So what's going on there? Like, how is everything over there?
Yeah, well, I'm obviously Canadian. I'm from Ontario. I moved here to go to school, I guess almost 5-6 years ago now. And it's definitely a lot different here from, I guess, back home. Things are a lot more open. But, still taking in proper precautions, but definitely missing competing, missing being home.
So I guess kinds of like virtual meetings is kind of nice to reconnect with the community in some way, especially being so far. And what are you taking in school?
I did my undergrad in exercise physiology, a bachelor's of science, and then I got my master's in counseling psychology, and then now I'm doing my PhD in sports psychology specifically.
Sports psychology. Okay, that is like amazing. You and I were just talking about this 5 minutes ago. So before we get to that topic, I'm going to rewind just a little bit, just because I want our audience to know a little bit more about you. So can you tell us, like, why boxing? What made you kind of think like, you know what, I want to step in the ring and I want to give a go at this?
Yeah, well, I think I actually started in like kickboxing, boxing when I was 9, and I remember telling my mom, like my older brother and I used to play fight, and I used to tell my mom, like, I need help, like I need to know how to like win at these like fights. So I think they put me in like kickboxing or martial arts, and I did that for a while. And then just accidentally when I was like, I think 14 or 15, just entered just a boxing tournament, and I ended up winning the whole thing, and I was like, I really like this, and I think I'm a lot better at this than I am at kickboxing. So that's what made the switch for me to boxing, and then it's been that way almost 10 years now.
You know what? I didn't even know that about you. I've been like really good friends with you for a long time, and I didn't even know that you started with kickboxing first.
Yeah, actually I have my black belt in North American martial arts. Like I started in like martial arts and then kickboxing, and then I like did a boxing fight, and like that was it. I never went back to kickboxing after that.
So why like martial arts though? Because like I know your parents are super sweet, and I can't picture like your parents having like just like fighting like stuff on TV or something.
Yeah, like I don't think they like really wanted that. I think they were imagining like karate, and it just didn't turn out that way. As Scarlett knows, my mom has never seen me box. I have 80 something fights, and my mom has never seen me box. She comes, she's very supportive, but she stands outside and then she waits till the fight's over. My dad texts her and she comes in and she watches the decision. That's it.
Yeah, I remember at the Silver Gloves, we were like in the rec center or whatever that place was called, and I was coming in. She's like, "No, I'm gonna stay out here." Like, okay.
So she shows her support. She's there. She's in the building. She's just not watching. So.
I guess I couldn't watch my daughter either, though. To be honest, I'd have a time.
No, I'd be all about it.
Really? I'd be like, punch her out.
I'd be like, oh. I don't know if that's true, because I think when other people are fighting, like my friends, I get more nervous than when I'm fighting. Like, because I feel like I'm not in control. Like when I watch you fight, I get more anxious than when I go to fight. Like people I care about.
Remember at Nationals when we were watching each other? Like, oh my God, the screaming and the hurrahs and everything. Oh my God, what an experience.
When I show people my videos, I'm like, ignore the girl that's screaming in the background of this video.
It's just so like, that's my girl, you know? Well, anyways, like, yeah, so I didn't know that, because it's funny. My dad, he actually started me off with K1 kickboxing as well at Combat Arts. And we made the transition to boxing because he needed help with the female sparring for his boxing athletes. So like, that's how I made that transition over. But like, that's funny. I didn't know that we had that in common.
Yeah, I don't think I could throw a kick if my life depended on it now. I like my feet firmly on the ground, and turning them over to punch. That's it.
Getting as much leverage as we get off the ground at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay. So you're in Miami right now for school, and you started your boxing journey. You come back. I think that's how you do it. You kind of come back for the major tournaments, right?
Yeah, I was home almost twice a month for tournaments, for the big tournaments, for Brampton Cup, Silver Gloves, Golden Gloves, Nationals. Sometimes I come back just to train, to spar, and sometimes for shows, for club shows, if it was a good match, I was back. I love to see my family. I love to be home. I love to be in my country. I would try and schedule my classes, so I didn't have classes like Friday, Saturday. I didn't start till late on Monday, so I'd be able to come to like all the tournaments. And it was a big adjustment, when everything got shut down, not only not competing and traveling like that, but also not seeing my family and not being home, not having Tim Hortons. It's been a little rough.
Not having Tim Hortons. Don't worry, the coffee's gone down great anyways.
Oh, no. Did you roll up the rim or anything? Or is that like not COVID?
We got roll up the rim still. We got roll up the rim.
Okay. I feel like rim, I don't know.
Say that one more time. My camera kind of went a little botched.
Oh no. I was just saying, I feel like it's not COVID sanitary with a little like roll up the rim, like, it's like germs. I don't know. It seems like everyone going to extremes now.
So you do like a lot of back and forth from Florida to Ontario. How does that affect your training? Like, do you feel kind of different? Like when you're coming off the plane, for example, like, do you get does jet lag at all bother you when you're like going back and forth do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I would try and plan things like the best that I could. I think the hardest was just with weight cuts too, because I noticed on the plane, like I would retain water sometimes just from, the altitude. And that was one of my bigger stressors, just being like, I was at weight before I got on this plane, 4 pounds heavier. Like, what do I do?
Right.
But the time zone's the same. So, that, was never really a problem. Managing, school, working, training, traveling, it definitely was a lot, but like, it's just something I'm so passionate about. And like, I never really noticed it to be draining like that. Just the weight, that was like the most stress.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, I totally feel like every time I go to Florida, I feel like a balloon just from the flight. And then you go like to hot climate. I know exactly what you're talking about. But that's on your end.
Yeah, and like that's just how dedicated I am to the sport and dedicated to my, career. And like I think being in boxing in a young age, like it really installed like the characteristics that like to be successful, to be ambitious, to be determined, to be resilient, to like push through and like to have heart, and I think that that's what makes up a great athlete and a great boxer.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. And the discipline that you have to do, because you're not, in college for business or these kinds of programs, like you're in university for your MD, like you're a doctor. Like this is
crazy. Well, that's what I was originally. My undergrad, I was pre-med. So I got my bachelor's of science, exercise physiology and microbiology. Then I did my master's in counseling psychology, and then now I'm getting my PhD in sports psychology. I decided not to go MD for multiple reasons, but more so, I'm really passionate about helping people and psychology and linking my passion for boxing and sports into sports psychology and working with athletes. And I think sometimes people think sports psychology is like limited to just athletes, but it's for anyone, like mental performance, to improve at work, to be just your best self, to achieve your goals, to sports psychology really, it's more like performance psychology. It applies to so many things.
Absolutely. And this is probably why we're good friends, because I eventually want to get my master's in sports psychology, because I firmly believe what you say. I'm probably not going to do you were just talking to me about this really amazing technique that we're going to get more into. I kind of want to go into more the counseling of performance training and performance coaching and getting athletes mentally prepared, whatever. But you are doing something very unique that I've never heard about before. Can you kind of elaborate on it?
Yeah, and I just think it's so great that you're doing that, because I think a lot of people will agree that boxing is like probably 80 to 90% mental, and the rest is boxing technique training, you know, because
Sorry, Allie, I'm losing you again. You're frozen. Allie, shoot.
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me? Okay, perfect. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Can you say that
No,
again?
no, no.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying that, you know, I think at the level that you and I have like competed at, you know, everyone's an elite athlete, everyone's you know, has the skills, everyone's trained, you know, the thousands of hours, the cardio, the technique. And what really decides, I think, on that day is who's mentally prepared to perform, you know, to their best.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think there's so much value in psychology and sports psychology. And yeah, and then I guess what I'm trained in, it's called Emdr Therapy, and it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and which is a very long name. But that's why we say EMDR. It was originally designed to treat people suffering with PTSD, post-traumatic stress, but now it's being used for like a multitude of disorders or just challenges, even, you know, like performance anxiety, depression, addiction, all these things. And athletes are really utilizing it just because you can hear my dog squeaking in the background. We froze it.
There we go. We're good?
We froze it again?
Yeah, no, we're good now.
Okay. I was trying to think where I left off. Yeah, and just basically it uses bilateral stimulation. So you'll see eye movements, sounds that basically help your brain reprocess events. So athletes that experience blocks, athletes you know, with anxiety, athletes, you know, coming back from injury. It basically helps reprocess, you know, your thoughts so that your brain basically makes sense of it on its own. Wow. And it really becomes like, you know, that muscle memory, but for your brain. It was the best way I can just try and sum it up.
That makes total sense. And I'm just amazed that, you know, technology and research has advanced to this level. This is why you see these elite athletes nowadays, because of these kinds of, like, is this I've never heard of it before. Is this really new, or?
It's relatively new. It kind of was more in the 80s when they started, you know, experimenting with it, and now it's becoming more popular, and especially more popular with athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, I think as athletes, we know the power of meditation and visualization, and this is a way of really ingraining it in your brain. Like our right side of our brain is much more images and emotions and sensations, which we all experience and we all have, you know, and then it takes it to the left side of the brain to process it adaptively in a way that's going to benefit us to get the results that we want. So it's using our brain's own machinery to basically drive the results that we want.
That's just incredible. I'm so amazed by this. And I really wish you were here in Ontario so I could just see you all the time and see this, you know?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of my friends here, you know, that are athletes, and a really good friend, Kate Hastings. She's a world champion in jiu-jitsu, and I did a couple sessions with her before the world championships. And I remember when she won, I watched her win gold, and I remember her coming off the mats and hugging me and being like, "I'm capable. I knew I was capable. It was the EMDR. Like, thank you, thank you." And I was like, no. It's like your hours of training and work and, you know, everything, the heart that she puts into it. But she really felt like it was a major component for her that changed her jiu-jitsu and changed her game to allow her to get to that level.
Well, it makes sense because, like you said, and I totally agree, like 90% of it is mental when you're going into these kinds of things, because coming into these competitions, it's not like the girls, or sorry, I should say athletes, just in general, when you're going to nationals, you're not having people that have like 5 matches or 5 bouts. You're having people that qualify to be at that level as well. So we're all training hard. We're all getting physically in the best shape of our life, you know, and it's small things that are going to make the difference. But the biggest thing is the mental game and going in there, like believing yourself that of your capabilities. Usually when you see two fighters, especially in the finals of nationals, the best fights ever, they're going like toe to toe, and it's really hard to just to determine sometimes, unless one athlete just has an obvious advantage. But sometimes it's so hard to determine like who has that extra edge, and it's always the person who just wanted it just a little bit more, somebody
Yeah.
who believed in themselves just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think there's a level of like belief too. I think everyone knows, oh, you got to believe in yourself, be confident in your game, and and with the EMDR, I think it helps, close that disconnect sometimes where we know it, but we don't feel it. And when we don't feel it, you don't take it to that level. It's like, oh, there's a difference between I want to win and like I know I'm capable of winning. I
Right.
know I'm capable of performing. And it really like consolidates that in your mind that like there's no doubt, like you really feel it the same way I tell you the sky's blue, like you're like, yeah, it's blue, the same way that you're good enough, you're capable, you are deserving of good things. Like as an athlete, like people think, oh, sports psychology only deal with like visualization for the sport and training and pressures of being an athlete. It's every part. An athlete's a human being at the end of the day, and things that we experience and how we make sense of our world and our relationships and who we're around and what we absorb is just as important and to be incorporated in the process of bringing that athlete to their peak performance, mental and physical.
It's absolutely amazing. And I'm like so excited to hear about this. I'm so excited to know that this is out there. And I'm really excited to see you so I could be like, can you do this magic stuff on me, please? I'm really curious.
I have so many people be like, is this hypnotism? It's not hypnotism, first of all. Like when you see the light bar, people are like, this looks like hypnotism. I'm like, it's not. Trust me.
This looks like hypnotism. Are you frozen again? Oh, please don't tell me you're frozen. Okay, there we go. Perfect. I'm so sorry, my internet. It's going off on me today. Well, like, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm sure a lot of people
it's okay. This is the time.
Right? I'm sure like a lot of people are going to be super interested in hearing about this. And I know that they're probably going to feel comfortable reaching out to you about your practice. Everybody knows your name is Ali Rosen.
Yeah, and like please reach out to me on Instagram. It's the same Allie Rosen. Well, Allie_Rosen 96. You can DM me any questions you have about EMDR. I think there's a few people I know in Ontario, well, at least where I'm from. I think in Kingston, I think there's one person that does it. Obviously I'm in Miami. I do it for everyone. There is an online platform, but we gotta try and figure out the logistics of that. But people who are interested or have questions, like I love talking about it. I'm super passionate about it.
Well, it's an amazing thing. And I really hope that you do get some buzz, because I think that this is a great opportunity for athletes to really take advantage of somebody who knows what they're talking about and is passionate about it. Can I ask you something though? It's a little bit coming back to the boxing. So you've had fights in both Ontario and Miami. So do you notice a difference with like the competitions and like how they regulate the fights?
Yeah, I've actually fought all over the US. When I was in college, when I went to the University of Miami for my undergrad, and we actually had a boxing team, and we would travel and compete with other universities and other colleges.
Wow. Okay, so boxing through university?
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's USA Boxing. It's called USIBA, which is United States Intercollegiate.
Wait a second, your audio is off.
No.
Oh, no, you're good. I can hear you now.
Okay. I was just saying that my internet connection's unstable now. Wow. I was just saying that with USA Boxing, they have like a sub organization called USIBA, which is US Intercollegiate Boxing Association. So colleges in the US would create teams, and we would have tournaments and fights, and it was a way to like travel for boxing and meet other students that are passionate about boxing and competing. I was in University of Michigan, UCLA, Virginia Tech, like all over the US, and it was a really cool experience. And in terms of it being different than being back home in Ontario, and how Boxing Ontario and other Canadian organizations, run it, it's pretty similar in terms of we're all under AIBA, so the rules are very similar. I feel like in the US, I've seen a much more pro style of boxing, more prominent. I feel like it was when I really started competing you know, with Boxing Ontario and Boxing Canada and spending most of my time back home in Canada, that I saw really that Olympic style of boxing and that scoring. Whereas I feel like in the US, it was a much more leaning towards that professional style. And then they also favored more, you know, using the 10-9 scoring, more of a professional scoring too.
Wow, so that's really interesting. And I love learning more about you. I mean, we're such good friends. And I had no idea that you were like fighting all over the States like that. I didn't even know that you could box at the university because here, like, that's not heard of, right? Like, boxing
Yeah.
is not a thing that they incorporate really with the universities or colleges. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is great. And even some of the guys that I was friends with that were in college and we boxed together, like we're still friends now. The gym I train at now, a lot of it's mostly boxers, you know, to be honest. They're all professional now. They turned professional boxers, and like it's just so cool to like we're all like like alumni and then also boxers. It's just like another connection, you know. It's so great.
Right. And so, like, now for yourself, like, you're in Miami, and as you said, like, things are a lot more open over there as opposed to over here. Like, are you,
Mhm.
like, you're training, I'm assuming, right? Because it's more open over there.
Am I gonna get in trouble for saying this?
Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I
Yeah,
mean, but
no,
it's open, right? Legally, they're open over there.
yeah, yeah, no, it is. It is open. The boxing gyms, you know, we're open, we're sparring. You know, we do take precautions, you know, in terms of like if you're not actually actively, you know, training, that like coaches wear masks, you know, we try and get COVID tested. You know, the gyms that I go to spar at every 2 weeks, COVID tested, you know, taking precautions. But overall, like we're able to train.
Perfect. Okay, yeah. So I heard your last part. Perfect. So, like, that's great that you have the opportunity. But okay, so since you are still Canadian, you know, you are represented under Boxing Ontario. How does that work for internationally? Like, are you allowed right now? Like, let's say they have boxing shows over there. Can you compete in a boxing show in Miami right now? Or like, how does that work for you?
No, because you know I am under Boxing Ontario. My book is a Boxing Canada book. You know that's you know I don't have any affiliation, and therefore to box in the U.S. I would require a travel permit, and Boxing Canada is not letting that because they don't really want people to travel due to the COVID restrictions. Although I'm here for school, like I'm stuck here.
Yeah, like,
um,
funny. You think that there'd be like kind of an exception because you live there. Like, you're not like coming back and forth.
Yeah, I would, you know, I've thought about that, but I also know that a lot of people would probably start talking. It would cause conflict and like people would be upset. Like, I do think that perhaps there should be an exception because there are events happening down here.
Right.
Not a lot. Like, there is some going on, and like, you know, I would like to. I'm preaching to fight. You know, it's been a while for us, but I also understand that those are the rules, and that's my like sanctioning body, and like to respect that, and just hope that we, you know, competing soon.
I know it's really really devastating on so many athletes, especially here in Canada. Like, I know that there is an athlete. She's from Alberta. She has a Polish citizenship, and she actually went
Oh
to Poland for all of 2020 and had 25 amateur bouts in Poland.
no, really? I'm
Yeah.
jealous.
I'm jealous too. But so I'm thinking, like, you know, she had the permit from Boxing Alberta, maybe because she stayed there. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's something to look into. Maybe because you live
Yeah,
there. I mean, you're not going to come back
yeah.
here. There's no point if you got your school out there and like you're able to train and everything out there.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing is like I've been wanting to come back. I miss my family, you know,
Yeah.
like minimally, you know, but the 2 week quarantine, I just can't bring myself to do it right now. You
Yeah.
know, like it's 2 weeks not training, 2 weeks, you know, not seeing anyone, being by myself. You know, I just feel like I want to, you know, of course I miss my family terribly, but it's just like for my mental health, like I'm not sure I could like bring my like do
And I
that.
totally understand that. I think I would probably be in the same boat as you. And the nice thing too is in Miami, you have the beach.
Yeah. We got the beach, we got the sunshine. You know, I'm really grateful like to have the opportunity to be down here for school and to train and you know and be in a place that you know is more open, but at least there's sunshine. And like, you know, I think it's really important that people don't lose sight of like, it's important to connect with people, and it's important to get fresh air. It's important to exercise. Like, you know, don't let the fear of this, you know, virus that's very serious, but to prioritize your mental health, because, you know, if you don't have mental health, your physical health is going to suffer. If it's not from, you know, COVID, suffer in other ways.
Absolutely.
And to really find safe ways to still take care of yourself.
I totally agree. I think that a lot of people forget that you have to still have a strong body throughout this. And when you isolate yourself into a closed space, you're not getting, as you said, vitamin D, fresh air, the lack of social interaction that, as you said, will affect your mental health, which will in turn affect your physical health. And that's how people get sick easier or more susceptible to things. You have to get that fresh air, you have to get good nutrients in your body, you have to eat good food, like you need to have that social interaction with your family and friends. It's just, you know, so important. And especially athletes, we all know this very well because our bodies are what's carrying us through our sport. And it's so unfortunate right now what's going on, but I'm really happy to hear that you have, you know, things going for you right now in Miami. Like, it's unfortunate you can't compete, which, you know, maybe there might be something we can do about that, but like at the end of the day, that's good that you have, you know, access to your gym and you can train and you can do all these things. So what are your like, I want to say, let's say COVID ended tomorrow. Let's just say hypothetically everything reopened, everything was like full force, like Ali, you can compete. We're all competing anywhere, anytime. What are your goals for the sport of boxing, especially with the kind of career that you're going into?
Oh, are we frozen? Oh no.
Oh, we're good.
We frozen? No, we're not. You know, really, really like I wanted to, like, you know, I've been trying to pursue the Olympics like with you. I feel like we've been on this journey together, and you know, so many good memories. And you know, I would still like to do that. And like that was where my heart was at. You know, after last nationals that we had, I was still like in that mindset. And you know, then COVID happened, and then I saw a lot of my friends, my training partners, you know, that are professional, and they were able to fight. And so I was like, well, if I'm not going to be able to fight, like maybe I'll turn pro, and then that way I'll have the opportunity to do so. But then that provides some complications with me being in Miami and being a student and like working visa and all these complications. And, you know, I really just come to the, you know, I guess the realization to just be patient and to, you know, when things open up, because they're going to, you know, positive mindset, you know, to go back, you know, our circuit at Boxing Ontario, and, you know, work towards like the next Olympics.
Yeah, and you know what? That's such a amazing, like you got this great resilience about you and this really high intellectually concepted mindset going into this because with this COVID, everything is so uncertain. There's a lot of people that have been suffering from mental health because we don't know like what's going on. When are we going to reopen? Like, are we going to reopen this year? Was it going to be for the next, you know, people are saying like 5 years. Some people say this is like completely, this is it. Like, this is what it's going to be from now on going forward for the rest of whatever. But I am on the same page as you. I think that's great that you found that like peace and that patience, because that's all we can do right now is just be patient. And the good thing is you're not alone. You know, it's not
Yeah.
just you, right? It's everybody. We're kind of all working together, trying to get through this together. So that's a good thing too.
Yeah, and you know, everything's happening for you, I think, is the best thing. Like, you know, even things that we don't understand or we don't like, life is happening for us, you know, in terms of, you know, what our path is, and to be patient and to trust in the process.
Absolutely. Well, you know what, Alec, can you tell me again what that thing is that you do professionally? What is that called again?
Yeah. It's just an intervention. It's called EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing.
Okay, that's amazing. So everybody take note of that. Thank you so much, Allie, for taking the time to do this. I'm really sorry for the internet going back and forth and the freezing, but it was so good to catch up with you. And it was so awesome to hear your perspective in all this. And I'm super interested in that, what you're telling me about. And I think that we're going to talk more privately about that because I'm going to see what I could do to get more information.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for doing this. Like, I think this podcast is so great, connecting everyone and learning about everyone's like story. You know, as you said, we're talking before, you know, we're all competitors. We see each other as competitors and boxers, and we don't really know like everyone's, you know, story of what brought them to boxing, what brings us together. And I just think it's really great, your platform that you're creating.
Thank you so much, Allie. I really appreciate that. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and stay tuned for next week's episode on the female fist. Thank you, Allie.
Thanks.